Sounds like everybody's having a good time. You know, I enjoy coming to these meetings because it gives me a chance to get out of the county. It feels like I'm on vacation today. Yeah. All right. Good morning, everyone. We do have a quorum. This is a special called August 16th meeting of the Transportation Policy Board, and we're going to take action related to the Carbon Reduction Program that was discussed July the 19th. But first, let me say I want to welcome John Rose, too. I noticed the weather, John. It's going to be sunshine for the next 5-6 days. Did you come home to cut hay? Huh? Okay. Anyway, hey, let's move right in first order of business. The minutes are in the package. I'd like to hear a motion to approve. Got a motion by Rogers Anderson. Need a second? Got a second by Jerry Herman. All in favor say aye. Anyone opposed? The minutes are filed. Okay, at this time we'll move on to our public comments. I'm going to open the floor to anyone in the public who wishes to make a comment to the Transportation Policy Board. If you do, I wish you to state your name and the community or residence. Does anyone like to come up this time? Seeing none, then we'll move on to our agendas. The first thing on the thing is the action items. It's the Carbon Reduction Program. I'm going to turn this over to Daniel Caparella. Caparella. Yeah, I'm used to saying Sean, so I did get Daniel right. Okay.
Thank you, Chair. All right, so just a brief recap on what this funding source is. These are carbon reduction funds. This was a new program introduced by the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law passed in 2021. It's very similar to the Congestion Mitigation and Air Quality Grant. So the numbers you see on the screen, $6.4 billion is available nationwide, and then $139 million is a portion for Tennessee statewide, and then for our urbanized areas, $13.8 million is suballocated to the Nashville-Davidson urbanized area, and $1.9 million is suballocated to the Murfreesboro urbanized area. Those are numbers for the whole period of the TIP, so fiscal years 2023 to 2026, as well as fiscal year 2022, which carries over into 23. In terms of eligible projects, again, very similar to the CMAQ grant. These are projects that can demonstrate a reduction in transportation emissions. So ITS and signalization projects, electrification upgrades, vehicle-to-vehicle infrastructure, public transit, bike ped facilities, and street lighting and traffic signal upgrades. In terms of funding requirements, typically requires a 20% non-federal match. There are some exceptions. I believe projects that are safety-focused can be funded at 100%. And then in terms of obligation, it must be obligated within 4 years of the apportionment. Our recommended approach, we'd like to break this up into 2 phases. So if you vote to open the call for projects today, that'll be prioritizing funding apportioned in fiscal years 2022 and 2023 for that first phase. So those are existing TIP projects with CMAQ, TAP, so Transportation Alternatives Program, and Multimodal Access Grant funds. If those projects have cost overruns or funds are insufficient and the project is not able to move forward because of it, those are the projects that we're looking for. And again, those projects must demonstrate a reduction in transportation emissions. So the timeline for that, that phase 1 application, it would open today. The application deadline would be September 1st. And then we would bring this back to the board for the September TPB meeting for recommendations and subsequent amendments into the TIP. And then for phase 2, funding for new projects, this isn't new construction projects, but other projects that are needing additional funding, that phase 2 application would be available on September 20th following the TPB meeting. And then the deadline would be November 30th, and then we would bring recommendations back to you on January 17th of next year. So there is an application available online. at gnrc.org/grants/transportation. So our requested action for the board is to issue a call for projects to solicit applications for the Suballocated Carbon Reduction Program funds. If anybody has any questions, I'm happy to take those.
Any questions for Daniel? Have you sent anything out to all the mayors and cities on this?
It was included in the packet.
Okay.
And we discussed it at the last TPB meeting as well.
Okay. Anybody got a question for Daniel? Okay, Daniel, you've done a good job. All right, we'll move on to, yeah, I need to get a motion on this action. This is the reason we're here today. I need a motion, please. Motion by Mayor Hutto. Need a second? Got a second by Mayor Herman. All in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Thank you. That does pass.
I've got one more thing on that item.
Okay.
I've got a list of existing TIP projects with CMAQ TAP and multimodal access awards. So find me after the meeting if you have a question on what those projects are. They're also available in our TIP database.
Okay, thank you, Daniel. We don't have any information items, Michael. Seeing none, we'll move to our regular reports. I want to introduce our FPA report, be Dan Hinton. Dan, you got the table. You can go to the podium if you will. We got a microphone for you, though.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Dan Hinton. I'm the Acting Division Administrator for Federal Highways Tennessee Division. Pam, I'm filling in for Pam Cordenbrock, who is on a detail with our Office of Operations and Headquarters. I'm actually, my real job is with the Georgia Division of Federal Highways. I'm the Deputy Division Administrator in our Georgia Division. So I'm filling in for Pam she's on a 60-day assignment. So it should be, towards the end of September that she'll return. Just a couple items I want to touch base on the some of the discretionary grants that are opportunities that are going to be closing soon. The first one is the PROTECT program, which closes October 18th. That's open, eligible for states and MPOs, local governments, tribal governments, and the eligible activities are to improve resiliency, address climate change, which includes highways, public transportation, ports, and intercity passenger rail. The next grant is our multimodal project discretionary grant program, which is actually 3 grants in one application. It's for the infra, the mega, and the rural grants. That's open, eligible for states, MPOs, local governments, and tribal governments. And it's for projects of national, regional significance for those programs. And that closes August 21st. And then the last program I'd like to mention is the Reconnecting Communities and Neighborhood Access Programs. And those are two. One, the Reconnecting Community is out of bill, and the Neighborhood Access is out of the Inflation Reduction Act. That closes September 28th. And again, open for states, MPOs, local governments, tribal governments, and nonprofit organizations. And these are to address impacts of transportation infrastructure on community and connectivity and public health. So I think those are the ones that we have coming up here recently, and I would continue to encourage. I know there's on our website there's a DOT Navigator that kind of has a lot of information on these different programs, and you can actually sign up for notifications for the NOFO advertisements for the ones coming up in the future. So these programs will continue, year after year. We'll be continuing putting out these NOFOs for the different programs. So that's my report. Unless anybody has any questions.
Any questions for Dan? Seeing none. Thank you, Dan. Thank you for that report. Okay, we'll move to our TDOT report. Chair recognizes Matt Messervy. Did I get that right, Matt?
Still no. That's okay. Keep that Missouri with a V. That's all you got. All right, anyway. I did want to give you an update on the statewide partnership program. As you all know, it was due August 4th. We received about 102 applications statewide. I was hoping that we could maybe give you a little more information on the breakdown of that, but we are currently going through those 102 applications to make sure that the ones that did not meet the criteria are taken out. So I really think by September we'll have a lot more information to provide you at the September meeting. As far as the timelines go, we don't have those established just yet, but we want to make sure that you are aware that we will be meeting with the MPOs to help coordinate these when the time is right. So, any questions on that for now? If you don't, I will pass it to my left and introduce Jay Norris, who is our Region 3 Director now. You might see his face and some of his staff a little more often. We're trying to be more outgoing and aware of what your all's needs and questions are. So let me just give it to Jay.
Good morning, everybody. I'll be brief. My name's Jay Norris. I'm the Assistant Chief Engineer Regional Director in Middle Tennessee. So we have TDOT operations in everybody's cities and counties here. We have people probably closing lanes or in y'all's communities this morning and today, and we have projects going on in your area today. We're excited to work with you. I want our relationship to be good. I want to make sure that we're serving y'all and making sure that y'all are successful. This is an exciting season for us with the Transportation Modernization Act coming and us figuring out what express lanes are going to look like in Nashville. It's going to be a fun time for us, and we've got a lot of work here to do in Middle Tennessee to make sure our transportation system is everything we want it to be. I quickly want to introduce Sean Armstrong. Sean, would you mind standing up? He is our Director of Project Management. He's also somebody that I want y'all to meet. And if you have any questions about projects, status of projects, construction projects, or even a pothole, we'll be glad to listen to you and do what we can to help y'all. It's good to meet.
Yeah, and I think we've been trying to have this. Other regions do this a lot, but having our regional folks be much more involved in these meetings, I think will help with a lot of the questions that we've been receiving throughout the months that I've been here. So I'm happy to have us team up here, and I think that's it for us.
Okay, any questions from Matt or Jay? Any pothole questions? I think you're opening up a floodgate there, Jay. Yeah. Any questions at all? Okay, seeing none, we'll move down to Chair's report. I don't have any report, but I was going to ask about the task force. Michael, is that in your report? Okay, we'll move on to Michael's report and go from there.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, everybody. Special welcome to Administrator Hinton. It's good to see you. I'm glad you're with us this morning, and please give our best to Sabrina when you head back to Georgia. We enjoyed our time working with her here in Tennessee, and she and I go back to our days in Florida. So, but good to have you here, and thank you for the information. The other thing is looking forward to working with Jay Norris as well at these meetings. I know over the years we've had a strong interest in a closer relationship with the regional office, particularly on status updates on some of the major initiatives across the mid-state, some of the more regionally significant projects. Maybe we can work together on a standard presentation that we could bring to this body, maybe quarterly or how often it makes sense. So thank you for being here, Matt. I appreciate you thinking about that for us. The only thing I've really got in my report before I get to the upcoming meetings is just wanted to make sure everybody has at their place the TIP status report through July 31st. Just point out a couple of metrics on this report. Primarily the metric at the bottom of the first table here, figure 1, the last 2 rows. Right now, thinking about the federal obligations, the federal highway source grants, we've obligated about 15% of the federal highway money contained within our TIP, and we're about 21% through the time span that the TIP relates to. So, ideally these two numbers would be closer together, if not the obligation rate exceeding that time span. So it's one of the key metrics that we're going to start paying attention to make sure that we are Focusing on removing bottlenecks and barriers to obligation. Happy to answer any questions you have about the remainder of this report. This is just a standard report. Don't mean to sort of dig into the details of each meeting, but I did want to point out on the back page, we've also got tracking for the various grant opportunities. Some of these Administrator Hinton just mentioned. There's also some TDOT grant opportunities that we're tracking. So we're going to be tracking when these opportunities are available, what the deadlines are, how many applications were submitted from our region. Sometimes there's a lag in knowing that. As Matt mentioned, we're still waiting to hear about the statewide partnership program, and then also tracking our success rate, and particularly comparing our success rate to other parts of the state to understand how well we're doing in competing for discretionary funds. So just wanted to make you aware of this report. Again, happy to answer any questions you might have about that. Last thing I'll share this morning is just a look at our upcoming meetings. September 20th will be the next convening of the Transportation Policy Board, and as Daniel has already mentioned, a key agenda item that day will be presentation of award recommendations and association with Phase 1 of the Carbon Reduction Program that we just issued a call for projects for. We'll also have available any proposed TIP amendments for your approval, and then Mr. Chair, this will be the meeting that the Project Delivery Task Force provides a detailed update on their activities, and hopefully by then a set of recommendations to present to the membership as to how we can improve our obligation rates and deliver projects in a more quickly manner. So also that day, really important, you're all invited to attend our annual partnership luncheon. We'll have Governors Bredesen and Haslam featured at the event, and then we'll also conduct our annual award ceremony and release GNRC's annual report. So this is one of our favorite days of the year where we're able to showcase all the great work of our staff and our member communities as it relates to supporting the quality of life for older adults, our Aging Disability Services Program, get to focus on all the work that we have done with local communities to bring grant revenue into our region, to build infrastructure and carry out workforce training and support of the economy. Also grants that are aimed at improving quality of life and the built environment around arts and tourism and things of that nature. And then, of course, showcasing the work we do at the planning level, both in support of local communities and the comprehensive plans and land use policies that you've got implemented, but also the regional planning activities that we carry out on behalf of Middle Tennessee related to transportation and solid waste and environmental quality and a growing list of other issues that the region needs to convene around. So September 20th, please save that date. I look forward to seeing you at the City Winery, and we'll get those details on your calendar shortly. And then October 18th will be the next convening of our regional council body. We'll have updates on our solid waste planning efforts across the region. There's a lot of really good work being done right now by our staff looking at potential long-term strategies for dealing with this ticking time bomb of an issue. But beyond that, I think there's also emerging some really good short-term strategies to help relieve us from the sort of the overwhelming sense of what we're going to do when our landfills around us reach the end of their lifespan, which ranges anywhere from 2 to 5 years, depending on how you do the math. So 5 years is still not very much time. So we've got to get to work on figuring out what we're going to do about solid waste. It's also Cybersecurity Awareness Month, so we'll bring some information to you to remind you the importance of paying attention to this issue. We've had communities within our region have been victims of cyber security attacks over the years. It can be very costly. And so just reminding you about the necessary, the need to do the upfront investment in your systems to protect your long-term interests. And then, of course, as usual, we'll have our customary updates on grant opportunities that are available to you to help build out your infrastructure and workforce and community development programs. With that, Mr. Chair, unless there's any questions from the board, I'll turn it back to you.
Any questions from Michael? Seeing none, I'm looking forward to task force recommendations. I appreciate the work Mayor Reed and those on the committee's been doing, and the solid waste planning. I think that's going to be very important. I think everybody's got their eyes on what's going to happen in Nashville and how it's going to affect all of us at our transfer stations and where we're going to go with the trash in the future. And at that, I'll take one more motion, Rogers Anderson. I got a motion to adjourn, second by Mayor Hutto. All in favor say aye. So moved.